Hey everybody, welcome to Hear Us Out. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Paul. How's it going?
Pretty good. Very good, in fact, because we're going to talk about one Paul William uh, Herschel Rudd. I have no idea what
Oh,
Paul Rudd's middle names are. Paul Rudd, who is, if anybody doesn't know him, just he'll be known to you as that guy. Let me throw up a nice big picture of Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd, the handsome man, the smartest of all the lizard people, because he's aged just enough
yeah.
that we haven't found him out.
It's the new technology of the lizard people. They're just like, need to have one crack.
It,
One crack and I'll do.
he's done well because Paul Rudd is famous for three things. He's famous for being a nice guy, he's famous for not aging, and now he's probably most famous for Antman. And Paul, we're not going to talk about Antman because Paul Rudd is more than all of those things to us. Paul Rudd is a bunch of other movies as well. So we're going to talk about what some of our favorite non-Ant-Man Paul Rudd performances in movies are. And maybe by the end of this, he'll have aged another moment. Maybe even another second. I don't know.
Yeah. Every time you say Paul Rudd, he ages just a tiny bit more.
Oh my God. We've got to arrange him in the middle of a football stadium and we all shout Paul Rudd and it'll be like the end of, the Holy Grail, the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Wow. Okay, enough of me being weird with my Paul Rudd stuff. Ant-Man, I think he's up there with some of the best casting in Marvel. Genuinely, Ant-Man's a bugger of a thing to try and cast when you think about it, folks. They did a brilliant job finding him. Don't get me wrong, Robert Downey Jr. That's some good casting, but I think Paul Rudd's overlooked as to just how good a job they did nabbing him.
I do think so. Yeah, he embodies a whole kind of like everyman, but still quite charismatic kind of everyman, which is nice compared to everybody else who's just charismatic and beautiful. Not saying Paul Rudd's not beautiful because of his ageless face, but it's just Chris Hemsworth and stuff like that.
He's a handsome ageless man. I'm into kind of kicking this off with both myself and Paul have done a list of a top 5, which we will show you at the end because we're going to go through the movies that are on that list and then show you where we put them in order. And Clueless made both our lists, and it was Paul Rudd's breakout kind of movie, but it's the most Paul Rudd thing in the world because he has the nice guy persona in most of his movies or a lot of his movies, but he has that in the public consciousness. Now, people who don't respect Clueless, I don't know why. If you watched it when it was culturally relevant, you would have understood. If it's not aged well, and I don't know because I haven't gone back and watched it recently to see it with fresh eyes in 2023, I think it'll still work. But Paul Rudd is one of the reasons that it works. That's why it makes the list. It's not just that he's cute and he's adorable. He actually had to ground the film away from some of its central. It's not just its central premise, but its use of tropes and pop culture commentary.
Yeah. No, he's fantastic in it. Because he plays kind of a character that like kind of gets frustrated with everything else that's going on within the movie. He seems like he's one of the voices of reason, but of the age of the people that are doing the non-reasonable things. Because there's parents in it and stuff like that who are even though they're a little bit unreasonable as well. But there's parents in it who are just looking out for the best of everybody. Whereas Paul Rudd's character is one of the people of the age who is also the voice of reason, which is good because he just has this sarcastic kind of like making fun of things that are going on within the movie is hilarious, but hiding his kind of like, I guess, charm within those kind of little things. He's a very cheeky chap in this film.
Which is one of the secrets to Clue. Paul Rudd is one of the secrets to Clueless because he's the audience proxy. He sees how crazy all this is. We're seeing how crazy all this is. He's, laughing at the same things we're laughing at. So he's our proxy. But then he also goes through that transformation of realizing, don't judge too quickly. There's way more to these people. So it's a heck of a role. Great little performance from him. And early on, back when he looked 5 minutes younger than he does now.
Yeah. Not enough people say his name.
Everybody at home, say Paul Rudd's. Actually, don't. We don't want to be responsible for killing Paul Rudd right now.
It's just he cracks like the vampires from Queen of the Dams,
Oh,
and
yeah.
also
See, I blanked on which of the Indiana Jones movies it was too.
uh,
It's the Paul Rudd effect. Paul, the next one is maybe one of his most recent, for most
yeah,
people, and that's Ghostbusters Afterlife. Again,
yeah,
movie that he wasn't the central person in, but it was a
no,
substantial role, and he had that grounding effect as one of the adults, but like the outsider, male adult. Let's put it that way. Everybody else was one of the younger cast or the mother of some of the younger cast, and then there he was, and he wasn't a Ghostbuster. But I think he acted again a little bit as audience proxy in ways, and it's something he's very good at because he's so likable. It means that you don't mind the idea that you're him or he's you. It helps that connection build. And I think in Ghostbusters Afterlife, he turned in a brilliant little performance. I don't think it's appreciated enough.
no. It isn't appreciated enough, and yeah, I cannot like he's the audience who grew up with the Ghostbusters. He's excited, he's like nostalgic as much. Like it's a very nice thing to have within the world of the Afterlife, to have someone who is nostalgic about the Ghostbusters be there to give voice to the audience that grew up with the originals, with the first two, which goes so like it's
Exactly.
just yeah, it's nice to see him. His exciting, he plays in Afterlife the first time that he sees like the trap and stuff like that. It reminds me of when he meets Captain America, Chris Evans, for the first time. Steve Rogers, like character, or like
Yeah.
Steve Rogers. It's so much fun that he's just like, oh my god, which is nice. He plays that kind of excited fanboy kind of thing really really well, especially in this, which is like a nice feeling because it it nicely puts the world into the first two. Like
Yeah.
it's just like someone who grew up with the Ghostbusters being there and stuff like that, and that you don't need to kind of heavily imply too much, kind of thing. It's just one person going, "Oh my god, this is a trap from when the Ghostbusters were around." It's like, oh, cool. You've completely put a pin in where this is. Great.
And
You know.
his portrayal was perfect. Again, this movie made both our lists, and it's a movie that I think people underestimate how important he was to, because the rest of particularly the young cast, were all brilliant. Some of them, one or two of them, were so exceptional that that's all we all talked about at the time. But
Yeah.
after a little bit of consideration and seeing the film a few times, it's like, wow, Paul Rudd really was he was hauling weight there. Good man, he pulled things along. Um, let's go to the other end of the Paul Rudd spectrum. Okay, this was almost only going to be an honourable mention, but his turn as one of the news team. I can't remember the name of the channel right now,
Is
but
it
in Will Farrell's, sorry,
are they Channel 5?
Channel 5, I think, yeah, Channel 5 News Team Assemble. Um, Brian Fantana, Brick Tamlin, and Champ, I think, was the last of them. But anyway, here's Brian Fantana, made famous for, Sex Panther. 60% of the time works every time. It's the other side of Paul Rudd. People are like, oh, but Paul Rudd always plays the same character. He really doesn't. Look at his filmography. He really doesn't. He just plays somebody that whether you should or shouldn't, you like. That's the thing that everybody mistakes, because Brian Fantana is a dislikable. I was going to use some harsh words. He's a very dislikable guy on the face of it, but
Yeah.
there's something about it's the genius of the Anchorman movie, making a bunch of really not good people the stars of a movie, and you end up kind of liking them and rooting for them. It's not easy to do, and I think in a room full of killers, he did a great job.
Yeah, I can't agree more. I think I think his car like within the it turned out that it's Channel 4, but within the news team, like his dynamic is very good. He's the which was, I think he's the weather. No, he's not the weather guy because that's Brick.
He's
Um,
is he like
he's the
entertainment or
action
something?
news guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, but he's within a strong cast of the main group. He puts himself right there and kind of thing that he doesn't lose any face. He's one of the cast or one of the guys. He's also the one that people like other than Brick and Ron Burgundy. Like, and I know that there's only four of them in the thing, but he is the third one you will remember constantly.
yeah,
No offense, which is I I can't really
yeah.
remember his name.
Champ.
Brian Fantana, Champ. That's it. Yeah, he's the sports guy. Brian Fantana, Paul Rudd's character, is very much the third one of the group that you remember. So
It's true. It is true. And okay, we can't spend long on Anchorman because he isn't a lead or even second lead, but he's again memorable. Like you've said, you do remember him, and it is one of those star turns. But I think it's the best example of you don't think Paul Rudd has range. Oh, but he's just doing more comedy. Yeah, that's not just comedy. It's not. It's like Steve Carell is in that movie doing the other side of Steve Carell because Carell is an amazing straight actor, amazing kind of non-comedic actor as well. I think Paul Rudd, as famous as he is for not aging, I think the more serious roles he takes, the more we're going to get to see of why we're making a list about him. And it's not just because Antman Quantumania is out now. See, I said Antman Quantumania, so we can now put it in the SEO legitimately, Paul. Nice. Waited till the middle in case any of the YouTube overlords are watching too close.
Kang the Conqueror.
Thank you. Goes in the list, SEO. So, Paul, on to I Love You, Man, which for me is
thank you.
the
movie.
Yeah, sorry. I told you I wouldn't tell you that on air anymore because, I know our partners watch this stuff. Actually, who am I kidding? They've stopped watching this years ago. We can say whatever we want. I've been stealing from you. Anyway, I Love You, Man. It's quintessential Paul Rudd for me.
Yeah.
Because he plays nice, silly, stupid, misguided, angry at times, confused, and does that thing that very few people can do. He leaves just charisma and believability behind him in all of those situations.
I Love You, Man is a very good example of kind of like the not the it's very much seen from the outside a Paul Rudd role, but seeing the kind of like the full expanse that he goes through in the film, and I'm not just I'm not going to sugarcoat it in the sense that it's like the best performance in the world, but it's very good to see that Paul has range and stuff like that in this, and he goes through it a lot, and it's not just a Paul Rudd role. It's very much a kind of like, oh, this is very surprising in kind of like, it's a fun romp kind of story and stuff like that, but like there's some depth to this that you didn't expect kind of thing.
His chemistry with Jason Segel elevates this movie. It's what carries the movie along, to be fair. And I'm not a Jason Segel fan. I just amn't. I don't know why. Nothing against you, dude. Not just never felt it. And weirdly, in this movie, mostly because of Paul Rudd's charm and charisma, it worked for me. So fair play.
You got that connection.
You which?
You never got that connection, no?
No, never got that connection. And weirdly, when I realized that, it was when I was watching the Muppet movie. And I was like, yeah, what's wrong? Why am I enjoying the Muppets right now? That's because I can't really get it. If it was someone else that was there, I think I'd enjoy this more. Again, I don't know why I'm weird like that with some people. Jason Segel, it ain't you, it's me. I didn't think I'd have to say that today, let alone profess it into a microphone.
He's not breaking up with you, don't worry.
This episode's getting weird. Next up is role models, which
weird.
It will get weirder before the end. Role models is another pick on both our lists. Well, role models, not anywhere near the same as I Love You, Man, yet in everybody's consciousness they'll think that it is. He plays angry and mean and dour for a lot of this movie.
Yeah, this is a good one to show kind of, I guess, more of the kind of like, I guess, downtrodden side of a performance that you can do, and Paul Rudd does it well. He does angry at the world kind of thing of where he is in the world. He also doesn't understand that, like, it's that thing of like, is it, like, is it better to be, an idiot in bliss that doesn't understand what's going on, or is it better to be intelligent enough to be self-aware? And it feels like this, the two people in it, which is, I can't remember the name of the actor,
Sean William Scott.
Sean William Scott. His character plays the very much of the other balance of that, which is he loves his life. He's living large. He loves the way that he's doing everything, and Paul Rudd's character is very much the opposite of that, which he's aware of what he's doing and stuff like that, which is making him more downtrodden. Um, which is just a fantastic range, as we said. It seems like a Paul Rudd, once again, another Paul Rudd role, in the sense that this is going to be like 40-year-old virgin or something like that character, but it's not. It's essentially just, it's mostly the opposite of what we've gotten with Paul Rudd for a lot of it, which is fun. It's fun to see him in that kind of,
And again,
world.
a movie that shouldn't work, a movie that should really be crap, but it's not. And it's thanks to the cast bringing all the wonderful chemistry. Don't get me wrong, which means the filmmakers have to get the credit for casting the right people and then directing them well, and capturing the magic. But they were the ones that brought the magic to capture. It's
Yeah.
a chemistry movie. It's a good chemistry, good example of a chemistry movie where it's how people work together with what the movie essentially is about. And I think it's a charming little bugger of a film that gets overlooked all the time.
Yeah, it does. I definitely agree. It has a lot of heart in it that which is Paul Rudd and William Scott bring to the table. So
Now, on to a another end of the filmmaking spectrum, the fundamentals of caring. It was the first time I'd seen Selena Gomez in a movie. Now I'm a big fan of Only Murders in the Building. I'm so used to seeing her. I can't believe that it's this long ago that I first saw her in a movie. But Paul Rudd, and again, we're not describing all these movies. We're assuming you've seen them or are going to see them, because it's more about Paul Rudd. We're not going to go into a full synopsis of everything. But for this one, because it's been slightly less seen, I'll give a very, very brief synopsis. Paul Rudd takes a job as a carer for, you can see the poster, the kid in the wheelchair in the middle. Along their road trip, which they end up going on, they meet Selena Gomez. I don't want to tell you anything more about the film than that, because it's worth seeing, folks. But what Paul Rudd does is he brings his comedic chops along with his straight acting abilities and does that wonderful thing that I love in movies. And again, you get to go along with Paul Rudd. He's not necessarily completely your proxy, but he kind of is. And when he's being funny, it can feel this isn't the right time, but he makes it feel like, okay, this is the right time. It's one of those things you feel like you're in good hands with Paul Rudd. It's a movie that could just make you uncomfortable, but instead it's endearing and brings you along with them on their journey. I can't think of too many people I would recast that would have done a better job than Paul Rudd did with what the subject matter is.
yeah, like this is one that wasn't on my list, and it's only because it's not one that I had seen yet. But
Okay.
your suggestion, on since it's on the list now, it's, and I've watched the trailer and stuff like that. It's one of those kind of like, oh no, I must see this, and my list may change because of it, kind of thing. It's just, it from an outside perspective, it seems like it's a little bit more of a serious kind of role for Paul Rudd, but without losing his charm too much in it. It feels like they've turned the role model's character a little bit further down, for a few bits and kind of thing, and so it's an interesting, I want to watch it,
I'm looking
like.
forward to you seeing it and letting me know what you think. Which actually is a perfect segue into the last thing we're covering, which is Mute, because this is
Yes.
the converse, the reverse. I have not seen this, and I really wanted to and plan to. So I'm going to have to throw it over to you, Paul. For
Well,
you don't need to convince me. I'm going to watch this, but convince me anyway.
look, the reason I chose this was because Paul Rudd pretty much plays the bad guy in it. He so like, that's the great thing about this film.
Nice.
He plays essentially the not nice, kind of scumbaggy kind of person who has reasons to be kind of scumbagish kind of thing, but it's an interesting turn of Paul Rudd's characters that he's played before.
Hmm.
Like which is one of the striking things. Like I haven't watched this movie in a long time. I watched it a few times because it's in that universe of Moon, with Sam Rockwell, Duncan Jones is directing, that kind of thing. Um, so like it was kind of like, oh, this is in the universe of Moon, I'm going to watch it, which is and then I did, and then all the majority of the premise is quite good. There's a mute person in it, who's very nice, played by one of the Skarsgårds,
Alexander,
and
yeah.
yeah.
I remember the trailer. It's impressive.
But the thing that stood out to me is Paul Rudd's character, it's just such a mix. It's such a difference for him to play that kind of character, which made it really, really interesting for like further.
Hmm.
So like that's pretty much why I put it on my list, was because although he's not he's the main the main antagonist of the movie, he is, which is it's just a very good role for him to play because it's so different. So
Well, good news is I'll be watching it this weekend. I now
you'll be
have
interested.
I now have the Saturday night movie picked, thanks to you, Paul, and thanks to one Paul Rudd. I'm now getting paranoid about using his name too much. I should have said at the start, stay till the end. We're going to keep repeating Paul Rudd until we hear the news live on Twitter. But I know, weird, huh? Paul, let's give people a little rundown, as we promised, of our top five. So, do you want to give me your five in ascending order? So from fifth to first.
Yes. Clueless. The reason I chose Clueless as my fifth one was because it's Paul Rudd's starting kind of, like, as you said, breakout film. He is one of the smaller roles in the film and stuff like that, so he doesn't get a lot of time. But he's very good in it. Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is once again his nostalgia kind of being the proxy of the which is of the uh uh
Audience?
audience, is very good. Anchorman, it's just he's too funny in it. He's just too funny. It is just Paul Rudd. Mute, once again, which is like he's very good at Mute and stuff like that. But I particularly connected with him in Role Models, which is as a person who slowly finds his way due to the people around him helping him that way. So I think that may have spoken to me on a little bit more of a personal level. So that's why I
Hey.
chose it as my number one, kind of thing. But hey, fundamentals, which is of Karen, might change my mind. You know.
You never know. I think it'll make it into your top six at the very least. And speaking of which, then mine, I don't have Anchorman on my list because I thought it might be cheating, and I'd squeeze it in as an honorable mention again for the same reason, size of role. But I'm glad that you added it to your five picks so that we could talk about it. In at five for me is Ghostbusters Afterlife, and it really could have been fourth. So it could have been Clueless, then Ghostbusters Afterlife. They swapped and changed for all the reasons Paul just gave. For three, it was Role Models for me because I really, really liked that movie, and I think it could not have been the movie that it was without him. And he really, really did bring it up. But I Love You Man edged it and got number two spot simply because, yeah, I guess maybe in some ways I connected with his character in it, strangely. So that left Fundamentals of Caring as the top spot. I don't know if it's Paul Rudd's best performance or if it's his best movie on the list. I don't think it's either, but I think the combined, it's one of those ones, it was on the, if I did an aggregation of all the scores I would measure everything on, it would come out with the top number. Um, so yeah, I'll be interested to see what you think. I'm really interested, most importantly, to see what everyone else thinks. Because what you've got to do now is a very simple YouTube thing. You hit like and subscribe, and then you share with all your friends. And after you've done all that, the most important thing you can do is comment down below, give us your top five non Antman Paul Rudd films, and let us know what you thought of our picks.
now trying to count the amount of films that he's been in, and I got to 26, and I decided I had to stop.
I think
so. You have quite.
It's like 66 or something nuts like that. Yeah.
Without Antman, yeah. So so you've quite a lot. There's quite a library of stuff for you to pick from to be able to put down below. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see everybody's kind of mix and turns.
Want to hear from you. And Paul Rudd, if you're watching, if anybody can get this to Paul Rudd, tell him that if we really did believe saying his name would make him age in any way or hurt him, we would never say his name again. We would use his middle names, which I can't even remember what I made up for them in the earlier on. I think he might be like
William
Herschel. Rudd. There you go. Willie Rudd, as we'll now call him, just to keep him safe. All right, folks, if you like weird people like me and Paul being weird, like me and Paul have been, this stuff, then you get on to us. Comment. But you definitely come back and see some more of our videos or check out some of our extensive library of weirdness. And on that note, Paul, I've been Patrick.
I've been Paul.
And we've been Here's Out. And we will see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.